RevolutionRadioFreedomSlips.com. And that's not too bad for a first try at an intro, is it, Mark?
I really enjoy it.
Once I figure out how to do it, we'll get a.
We have plenty of time.
Pressure Hawk changing it too soon, But that's the first try at trying one, so
it worked out just perfectly.
I really appreciate Hawk playing it for us. We got a pretty good show lined up tonight. We're going to have a little fun and hopefully pass along a little bit of information. I'm going to go ahead and let Mark introduce our guest. I'm not sure if he had planned on doing a bio or not for our guest, because she is hangs around here quite a bit with us. So go ahead, Mark.
All right. While the enslaved are celebrating Columbus Day and the arrival of Christianity to the Americas, we're going to be discussing the history of Halloween with Solaris BlueRaven. Hi, Solaris. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, and we'd be talking about Samhain, but
yeah, I was going to say it's not Halloween; it's
Samhain. For me.
Okay,
we can talk a little bit about the Halloween as well.
Yeah. So, what's the difference then?
Well, the Samhain is the witches' holiday. It's the witches' New Year, which is what I celebrate, being of the craft. And then Halloween is the conversion of the way that it's been manipulated through mainstream and Christianity and everything else. So we don't celebrate Halloween; celebrate Samhain.
There is a big difference between the two.
Yeah, it's a Sabbath, and it's we can get into that if you want.
The Samhain is the equinox, isn't it?
Well, the Samhain is it's a Sabbath. Basically, it's one of the representation of the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, and we call it Samhain. And it's celebration in honor of the god, also life, death, and regeneration. But it's also when the veils are very, very thin this time of year, and we celebrate the dead and actually our ancestry. And so it's it's pretty enlightening, I guess is the word. A lot of people get spooked by it, but we can go into details.
Well, but it's not an evil thing now. This is back
that's
before
mainstream programming.
They come up with the evil idea involved in it.
Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Sabbath. There's nothing wrong with Samhain at all. Actually, the Christians kind of diverted that energetic and pulled it over into the church with Halloween to divert the energy. But literally, it's about celebrating the ancestors and the dead. I mean, everybody's kind of doing the same thing. They're just kind of redirecting the energy a little bit differently. So. But yeah, I mean, it's a good time to tune into your ancestors this time of year.
Which I find interesting that you said the ancestors, because I think Halloween has something to do with the actual, what we celebrate Halloween is the Day of the Dead, isn't it?
Well, that's like on November 2nd, technically, but it's through the October 31st. You have like a 3-day window, but literally we start celebrating Samhain, which is the witches' New Year, but also in reference to the dead, where we have like dumb feasts and things like that, and that's on October 31st, usually on Samhain itself, on what you would call Halloween, but. Yeah, so literally that window of time and the illusion of time is a time to have remembrance. You can create altars of your ancestors. You can put pictures of people who have transferred out recently and light a candle for them, or maybe just a little note. And it's just time to respect those who have transferred out, and also create that communication if you so choose to connect in. And some people do. And it doesn't mean like most recent ancestors too. We can talk about ancient ancestry as well. So some of our old ancestors that we honor. So it's a nice little celebration.
Is it usually just close family the family members?
Well, it's whoever you miss and you want to connect with. And it can be animals as well. So you can literally have an altar for animals. Yeah, I mean anything. But most of the time when I'm involved in ceremony, it's usually a relative or someone who's transferred out recently, things like that. But we always do a nice dumb feast or some kind of a ceremony which is in connection to the ancestry and those who have left us.
Is there
the other side? Go ahead.
Is there a meal that is usually prepared for Samhain?
Well, yeah, you can have, some people have like potlucks. It just depends on the coven or the group of people who's involved. But literally, you create a nice meal, usually bread for the harvest, that kind of thing in honor of the harvest. People always like to have bread. But any kind of food that you have a resonance with, or maybe the ancestor had a resonance with also, is nice to use. And with a dumb feast, what they'll do is they'll create a plate and a setting for the person who's departed. So literally, you'll have a plate there with food, and you'll put a little bit of food on it, spirit food, for that which is in the unseen world, but yet present in consciousness. So we do that, and that includes drink.
See, that reminds me of the Jewish Passover, because they set a plate for Jesus just in case he shows up.
Well, it's always good to set an extra plate, isn't it?
Yeah, I just find that kind of a strange little correlation there,
That's interesting. Well, they all kind of dovetail, if you ask me, after looking at all the different types of religions and things out there. But it's really about mysticism in general. And I think that most people have a misperception of the craft. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of people out there give it a bad name. I mean, we have a lot of groups out there that don't do honor to the path itself. But then there are a lot of good ones too. So you just take it all with a grain of salt, as with everything. There's good and evil.
I've met very few that I would even consider being evil.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't met any. I've met some naughty people, some naughty witches, but I literally have met good people and very enlightened beings who do good ritual. And it's always about productive ritual, whether it's environmental, for a person, for healing, for an animal, for a loved one, whatever it is. It's always usually about self-empowerment and enlightenment, and not about attacking or harming or, just what people assume. They assume so much and yet know too little.
Well, we've been programmed with movies and stories that they're evil,
Well, too much Hollywood, bottom line. And now we have this thing with the Church of Satan, and it's, little kids. I just read an article about
not even the same thing.
And it's really sad because they don't understand that you have children out there who are being misdirected. They don't get it, and then they have bad role models, and they don't understand. They haven't gone through the path of mysticism or spirituality. They're so young, and they need guidance, and it's not there for them. That's the bottom line. It doesn't matter what religion it is. They're really disembodied right now when it comes to spirituality. There's no one there as a role model for these kids. And then they act out in psychotic manners because they're seeing things on television or getting prompted by crazy groups of people,
Or their role models beating their wives.
Yeah, really, when you look at what's going on now.
I hate to laugh about that, but this is what it has become.
Yeah, totally. And it's becoming very hostile and disconnected from what I call source, whatever that connection is. I mean, literally, people are not connected. They're not plugged in to higher consciousness, and that's what's creating this chaos in motion across the board.
Yeah, I fully agree we're in chaos. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, I know Thomas and I did that show with Rich Moats.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard it, but Rich discussed the Yost earthworks and how the Hopewell built the earthworks to align with the mound built by the Adena culture, and the sun and moon and Orion would rise beyond the horizon and then appear above the like it's coming out of the mound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this Samhain traditions that you've been discussing seem like they've been happening at least in central Ohio for 2,000 years, and I'm sure it's gone on in other cultures a lot longer. I was just using Rich's show as an example of, this has just been a long-standing, just human tradition.
Well, right. This is way older than religion.
Yeah, I was going to say, even the craft. I mean, Wicca was actually, that's a fairly new thing, but the craft itself is ancient. And when you go back to the craft and you look at the craft in general, it's ancient mystery school teachings. What they've done is they've taken a lot of the teachings of today, and they've kind of gotten their information from bits and pieces of the old school initiations and information that was left behind, which is very hard to access, by the way, because a lot of those people were murdered and executed, and the information was taken by the dark priests. And the dark priests ran with the data, and you see them in the what we call Illuminati, but I don't even call it Illuminati. I'd see them more like the Jesuits. A lot of esoteric, what we call dark warlock types are the ones who actually have acquired and stolen the information that was never theirs to begin with, and they're running with it chaotically, I might add. So we do have those of us who have the lineage of the mystical path, but it really boils down to mysticism and high alchemy, which is really the traditional craft. Anything you see today with Wicca, it's great. It's a nice little avenue. But the bottom line is it's really about the ancient mystery school teachings and how we've converted that and how we're working with it still on this timeline. But the key to this equation is really consciousness. And I'm a mystical scientist. I have many backgrounds and many different teachings. The craft is really hardcore with me because I have a benchmark in the craft. but I also have a benchmark in other areas as well. So I incorporate a lot of things, and I'm a kind of an atypical witch, and I've said that before, because my path is very different than a lot of covens, and it makes them very nervous because of what I am, not only technologically, but on an alchemical level. I don't know if that answered your question at all, but it's my comment.
I think you stunned him there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No,
it answered the question.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I find the subject intriguing. Now, I myself, I don't know if Mark remembers or not, I actually interviewed 2 dark wizards a few years back, and they were creepy.
Yeah.
And one of them had ties to the White House, and the other one was a newbie. And I just found it kind of creepy. You could tell they were not of I don't know how to put it.
Well, maybe they're more lower astral oriented. You know, a lot of those people who are into there is no light or dark magic, but it's literally neutral, but you take the energy and you do what you will with it. But literally a lot of people are out there that do the kind of what I was talking about, voodoo hitmen and things like that, where they're literally attacking others, or they're remotely influencing people for their own entertainment. Sometimes it's for a paycheck. So that does happen. There are people out there who are dark magicians. That's what they were doing. Yeah, it does happen.
They were literally selling stuff and
well,
and
what I call lower astral.
You could feel that their energy was not right.
Yeah. Well, you have to be careful. I mean, like I say, there's good and bad everywhere. And I've been around some people who have tried to take me out, I mean, remotely. Not only technologically, but I've been around some dark people before. I mean, what I would consider people that misuse their abilities, that want to test the waters. They want to practice on targets, and they'll pull somebody, you know, like who's powerful just to see where they can get with the energetic. But it does happen, and that's why we can talk a little bit about psychic shielding and protection, because you do need to understand that once you dive into these waters, you will attract the more power that you gain through your higher consciousness, the more you become a target, because these people like to screw with that. And especially in the dark programming, like in the underground, they'll try to basically, you know, target you because of the electromagnetic pulse energetic that you naturally have through your vibratory rate.
This is what you'd call a psychic vampire then, right?
Well, psychic vampires are more of actually, psychic vampires can be anybody and their mother. I mean, literally anybody off the street, people you meet on the internet. Literally, those are the people that bleed your energy field, and you feel tired around them. I mean, you just like get exhausted around them after a while, or you get a headache. If you're starting to get a headache around somebody, that's a chance that they're psychically draining you, and that tells me that you need to drink more water. Also, shield yourself from them trying to attack you. But that does happen.
Water helps.
It does. It flushes out your circuitry, and it actually helps hydrate you because they're pulling on your energy field, and it's a conductor. By the way.
Now, me and you have talked before. You know that I get that way sometimes.
I know you do. Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard me, you know, say it a few times. And
you're very empathic, I would say. You're very sensitive to energy. Yeah.
It's usually not on my Monday night shows. It's usually my Sunday shows.
And hopefully you won't have a headache after this one, right?
Oh, no. I'm enjoying this.
I usually generate energy. I don't draw on people at all.
Right. And this is one of the reasons I like talking with you, because you do. I don't know how to put it. You cause energy to level up.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I do raise the vibration. People. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're not giving them energy. You make their energy up.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of my martial arts background, being a martial arts instructor and also teaching DNA activation and other things that I've done in the past in addition to the craft. So, yeah, but thanks.
Yeah, just a couple minutes ago, you mentioned the high alchemy. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between that and the whatever Aleister Crowley was doing?
Yeah, you know, everybody wants to talk about Crowley. You know, I think he was into the sex magic, the low magic, and I don't think that was all he was into. I've looked at his rituals. We've actually done some of his rituals before, and I didn't find them to be anything powerful. I'm not talking about the rituals that are crazy with animals and this and that. I'm just talking regular rituals that he's done are not that impressive to me. I didn't think he was that impressive, but a lot of people do. But what I think happened was on that timeline, nobody was pushing the envelope then, but he was. And so he was creating a different kind of an energetic and a different shift and a dynamic that was attracting a new culture. So that was part of his the magnetism he had with the audience, you know, how people were attracted to him because he was different. He was a breakaway. But at the same time, I look at a lot of his craft work, and I don't think it's that impressive. But I do think, after all the investigations I've done, that he was involved in a lot more than what's in the books these days that people access, which means,
I
it's the other stuff, the other stuff that you have to look at that he was interfaced with, which was more of a technological, I don't want to say Vril Society type thing, but it was literally a little bit more techno, and definitely pulled him into the orbit of covert black programming and magic.
Well, he had ties with Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, and
that's all about mind control, by the way. It's all about programming, and what you're doing with initiations and rituals is programming yourself to go into an altered state of consciousness at will, so that you can manifest realities. And that's literally what's going on. It gets to the point where you don't even need to do a ritual, where you're just setting the intent each day through whether it's a meditation or an affirmation. You don't even have to do like the whole casting circles and calling quarters and this and that. Literally, it's just about consciousness in motion. And that's when you become the adept. That's when you become a multidimensional being.
So was Crowley's magic based on the Egyptian mystery schools?
I know he was doing a lot of work with the ancient Egyptian mystery schools. He was doing a lot of channeling with the deities from Egyptian times on that timeline. I sense that he was more entwined with entities and disembodied spirits. I don't think he was getting the pure energetics that he was that people think he was getting. In other words, I think there was something else that was running the show. I believe he was definitely allowing himself and opening himself up for possession. And that does happen because once you agree to be a conduit for this type of an energy, you basically create a contract with yourself and whatever deity, whatever you're pulling in. So literally he allowed himself to be taken over by whatever it was. I don't think it was anything divine, to be honest with you. I don't think it was anything divine at all.
But this kind of information was known to the ancient Egyptians.
Well, I don't believe he had the correct information. I believe that they dallied around with information and certain coded words that they were pulling in from a lot of different teachings and creating their own version of what they wanted to do in magic ceremony. And with that, he was pulling in certain aspects of whatever entities were disembodied that happened to be around. But when it comes down to ancient Egyptian mystery schools and celestial energies, what I do know about those teachings are that they worked with sound, they worked with toning, they worked with frequency, and they resonated at a very high level of consciousness. And they were very pure, like the Atlanteans, what we want to talk about, Atlantean civilizations. And what happened was you had the dark priests come in and take over and literally run a type of what do we call it, a battle, I suppose, where they literally start polluting the lineage and polluting the magical history and the mystical teachings behind it all. So a lot of them went underground, and then some of them vanished. Some of them actually were able to phase shift and leave. And then a lot of them it's like a lot of this teaching is actually in your cells, your atoms, and your DNA. You can actually access this through the Akashic records and things like that.
I ain't found that damn phase shift yet. Switch.
It's all about frequency. All about vibratory rate and frequency.
I'm looking for that density. Switch.
Yeah, and it's there. Believe me, it's there.
I have no doubt of it.
Yeah,
we have records of people ascending.
Right, and you can do it. That's what DNA activation is about. It's about going to certain levels of your light body and working on yourself. So what you're doing is you're deprogramming yourself from the virtual scenery and the virtual world you grew up in, which is based on a lie, and you're reprogramming yourself with higher overtones of multidimensional ascended consciousness, and that's all pure light, pure energy. It's divine energy. It's not polluted. It's not tainted, and it's just pure energy. So that's the aspect and that's something that most covens don't cover, by the way. That's the mystical mystery school teachings. A lot of covens will just go by the regular protocol, but I'm, like I said before, I'm a mystical scientist. I have a lot under my belt, so I'm a little different.
Well, no, you don't settle for what's standard.
No, not at all.
Right,
and I go by my higher self, oversoul, superconscious, and plus the work that I've done, the initiations I've had in the past, and I've taken those up to the highest level, and I'm still going. So, and everybody should be doing that.
Well, I'm pushing it anyways.
You are. I mean, you're getting activated each time you do research and investigations. Each time you have a guest on your show and you learn something new, it speaks to your cells and your atoms, That's how it works. It's information. Information is very powerful, especially when it's based on a fabric of truth.
So does the earth energies and ley lines fit into the Samhain ceremonies?
Not really, but you cast your own. I mean, you can work around the ley lines for sure, but I've done grid running before, but it's not about Samhain or any type of full moon or new moon energy. I literally run grids when I feel guided to do so. But you can do that. You can work around those ley lines. But mostly with a Samhain or with any type of a ritual and a full moon ritual, you're going with a protocol. If you're doing the craft, you're literally setting up a sacred space. You're creating a circle, which is creating a dimensional space between worlds, and also a protective dimensional space. And then you're actually bringing in different aspects of guardians of the gates from all directions, and a lot like the Native Americans do. So you go through different directions, north, south, east, and west, and you bring in these gatekeepers, what we call the good ones, though, the guardians, and you have them hold the space and make sure nothing comes in that you don't want. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of ceremony behind it, and it's actually good practice to do this. It's kind of like a martial arts thing. You practice every day to do this, but eventually you don't need to be doing any of that. But it's setting the intent. It's getting yourself disciplined to a point where you're able to create sacred space, and you stay in control when there's energetic. There's also an aspect of drawing down the moon, what we call drawing down, where you're bringing in energy from the lunar pure energy of the lunar moon, not the crap and the stuff and the dark bases and this and that. But I'm talking about the pure energy of source reflected through the moon, that you bring in this energy and you're raising your vibratory rate through that as well. And this is all positive, by the way. It's how people handle energy that makes them corrupted and polluted. It really is. But it's really about understanding the mechanics of the universe and being able to download these vibrational frequencies and integrate them into your DNA and your design.
That's an interesting point. Handling energy it's
huge.
What causes the miscommunication or misunderstandings?
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to summarize that for myself. And
yeah, if you're not calibrated for a certain frequency and you get what we call psychic blowouts, where you're getting bombarded with a very high frequency that's pure source energy, you're going to have disorientation, because if you haven't done the spiritual work, say you haven't cleared out your emotional body or your mental body or your physical body, and you have trauma on some level at the cellular level, you'll have what we call a healing crisis sometimes, or you'll have a crisis of some kind where you have to deal with that. And then there are other aspects too. If people aren't prepared to handle that kind of an energetic in general, I mean, literally it can get them kind of off balance, so to speak. I think being a martial artist and learning how to handle chi, which is a universal life force energy, and anchoring that chi, once you know how to handle that as a martial arts master, when you start working in this area, you'll understand that you can pretty much create anything and anchor the energy accordingly, and it won't affect you.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, a little bit.
I had a crisis last week. You all know this. I mean, I was a pretty grumpy boy last week.
Wow. So what triggered that?
I think I was being attacked, but I'm not sure. I think I learned to deal with it.
Yeah, but you don't want to take on that kind of a hit either. So
well, it's all in the learning process.
It is learning, and once you figure it out, I mean, literally, but when you start feeling yourself being attacked, you can do certain things. You can breathe, first of all. Make sure you learn how to breathe.
Now I think I'll recognize it when it happens, before it gets too far.
Exactly. You also want to make sure you set up a shield of color. I always say the electric blue is one of the best shields you can have and metallics. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a transmutational.
I lean towards purple, something fierce.
Yeah, purple's great. Our violet flame of transmutation. You have Saint Germain's work. Archangels are really powerful. The ascended archangel energies. I'm not talking about the stuff that people work with that's primordial. I'm talking about the ascended archangel frequency, which is extremely powerful. I've had Enochian initiations that were extremely powerful, and those symbols are sacred. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of truth to the higher dimensional realms that will come in and assist. And honestly, what's going on in the world today, I believe that we have a collision between what people would call a state of consciousness between heaven and hell, but it's not like we're in heaven or hell, but it's the state of mind that's at battle here. We have like a split hemisphere of two different divisions of frequency that are colliding across the globe. And I'm sure you guys have picked up on that.
I believe that too. I think what we're going through is purposely designed by the one end of the scale, but in the end it's going to turn to the other end of the scale.
Well, it's a psychic war that's out of control. And when I say psychic war, everybody's psychic. Your thoughts are psychic energy. And what you think, you manifest. We all know this. We've all learned this on the path. And right now, there's people trying to program everybody else's minds through whether it's television, media, radio. You have all this stuff that's polluting the mind and the brain. You've got forced drama that's happening that's in your face that's it's literally a psychic drain to you, because what they're doing is they're feeding off of your life force. Every time they pull you into their orbit of drama, they're pulling on your energy field. And they're lowering your frequency to a more coarse energetic, because they don't want you ascending to higher levels of consciousness. This is a strategic plan. I can guarantee you it is. And not only do they do that, they run the technological frequency fences, which I'm very, very experienced in, especially with psychotronics and synthetic telepathy. So I can tell you what they do, and I can tell you how they're doing it. But most people aren't paying attention to that, so that's what's causing a lot of the chaos here. So that's a whole different arena.
Solaris, how do you find out your defensive colors?
Well, it's usually, let me put it this way. Defensive colors, if you want to protect yourself, I would say silvers are really good. Metallic colors, electric blue, and violet. Those are the very high frequency colors that you want to use for your shielding. Those are the best ones. It's not about really finding a color. You might resonate with a certain color because your body requires that frequency. Say you need green. Maybe green is a healing color for you. That's also abundance, but it's also associated with heart energy, heart chakra energy. So there's different colors that are associated with what you may need for your four-body system to function. But when you're getting hit with an attack, you want to make sure you're fortified in a shield. And the shield is usually, I like the electric blues and I like the silvers. And of course, you want to bring that with whatever divine celestial being, whatever cosmic Christ you work with, whatever being that you have a resonance with and a relationship with, because once again, you have to have some kind of connection to that frequency and that being, that consciousness, in order to pull it in. You can't just kind of call on something and then expect it to assist you. There has to be a relationship.
Now, a lot of, I'm going to say the word, and I don't want to make you mad, witches.
Yeah.
Have familiars.
Yeah.
Are now, do...
I don't mind the word witch. That's a good word. People try to
but...
create a bad word. It's not a bad... It means crap. It's a wise one, really.
Right.
So, yeah, you're good.
But what most people would think. Now, do familiars help you with protection?
They can. Yeah, they can. And actually, cats are more familiar than dogs from my experience, just from me working around them. I'm sure other people can relate to other animals, but the cats themselves...
How about parrots?
Well, you can certainly
That's
train
why
one.
I brought it up, because I was going to say Mark's green, he's got the green parrot.
Right. Well, anytime you have a connection, a love-based connection to your animal, it's going to create a psychic link. And animals are naturally psychic to begin with. I do notice that cats are very protective. They're like temple kitties, and they tend to pick up on the spirit world very easily. My dog does too, but the cat is incredible. So they definitely pick up on a lot more. But yeah, you can definitely, excuse me while I clear my throat, but you can definitely use them for not necessarily ceremony, but you can sit there and connect with them on a psychic level and assist in an exchange of energy to a point where they actually do some familiar work for you, which would be kind of like a guardian or a gatekeeper type thing. And you can actually work with elementals too. You can actually work with things that are not from this dimensional space, but actually other dimensional spaces where you bring them in and they can actually assist you in protecting your yard, your garden, your vehicles. And, elemental energy is everywhere. And once you learn how to harness that energetic, it can do anything. That's what Tesla was working on too.
Now, now we have to actually, me and Mark is actually, I can't remember who it was, Gail, somebody or another. She spoke of,
What's that?
Elementals.
Okay. I was trying to read his word over here too while I was talking. But go ahead. You okay there? Have some water.
Excuse me, people.
It's okay. I needed water too.
All right. She describes them as actual creatures.
The elementals?
Right.
Well, they can be. They can take on the form of just about anything.
Take on a form. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, but you're dealing with different frequencies in different dimensional spaces, and you can actually access and create and summon any type of an elemental. Some people just work with the elements of nature themselves, and they don't try to construct anything. Once again, this is about manifesting a reality, and you can literally create things. You can create dragons. You can create anything as a temple guardian, and charge that with an esoteric kind of a frequency and signature, and it will protect your home, protect your land, protect your family, that sort of thing. And then, of course, there's a certain amount of ritual you do around that, and it's a certain amount of time, the illusion of time that you do these things where they don't stay forever. but in a certain amount of time in the illusion of that you want them there for protection. It's just like anything else.
Right. Now, you actually have to be trained in this. You can't just go out there and attempt it yourself.
Well, I wouldn't.
Get in trouble, right?
Yeah, I think that you could get yourself in a little bit of elemental trouble if you just be reckless and go out there and try to summon things. But what I will tell you is, we were talking about color, visualization of color. First, you start with things like that, the simplicity of things. You start with toning. You start with divine energy descending in your crown chakra that's connected to source and full light, whatever you have a resonance with, whatever being, Christ being, whatever being you resonate with. You bring that energy to you, and then you set up a boundary. You set up a boundary, whether it's color. You can use a color around your house, like an electric blue shield around your home at night, or even white. Some people like to use white. I don't find white to be that shielding. Electric blue is really powerful, so I like to use something like that. But those are the things you can work with, and then you can start creating and visualizing things and seeing how it works as something to use as a shield. And you can put the shield, maybe the elemental symbol, in the color itself, and then use that as a shield around your home. This is an example of what you can do, and that's something that you can't get into trouble with.
Right. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. And people do it all the time.
I don't want nobody to go out there and experiment with this stuff and get your butt in trouble.
No, you need to study. Absolutely. Yeah. And also, but creative visualization, everybody does it every day. You sit down and you draw. A painter, you're an artist. You do it every single moment of your life. You're creating things in other dimensions. And so are you, Mark. Everybody out there, I'm sure listening, has a creative side to them, whether it's through music or whatever it is.
I'm a firm believer everybody is given a gift.
Absolutely. And what you're doing with that is permeating through all dimensions. I want people to understand this. It's not just that you're doing something in the linear world. You're creating on a multidimensional level. And that's a lot of responsibility, folks. Let me tell you, that's not something you want to take lightly at all.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. If I make a picture of someplace, that it more than likely exists.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you created it too, and that's another thing we're manifesting.
If it don't, I've actually created it in this reality anyways.
Well, and I've also mentioned to you, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Mark, but let me just make one point here. We are in a holographic realm, so you are creating through the hologram. It's like the holodeck. So that's something to be aware of as well. And also, knowing that, understand that there are people in undergrounds that manipulate that holographic field. So you have to be careful. Go ahead, Mark.
Thomas, you just said that what you create exists.
Yeah, I fully believe that.
You manifest and will your own reality. The universe gives it to you according to your beliefs.
I don't think I'm creating that. I think it's given. I'm being given.
Let's put it this way:
a unique view that I'm to share.
Right.
Yeah, I was just talking about where those hot babes you paint.
Well, I wasn't meaning them now.
That's what I was meaning. I was like, I'd like to meet them.
That's memories of a long and probably not so great life.
So
Mark,
I know you're only 29, but did you ever see the reruns of the Night Stalker?
Of course, I love the original Night Stalker. The original.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was my favorite.
Just a couple months ago, you were talking about the, creating, what you think, what you may fear.
Right. You polarize your fears. It will be like Velcro. It polarizes against you. Yes.
Yeah, and that got me thinking about that. The Paramalfay episode with the Spanish moss monster, became a real character after the guy in the dream experiments started thinking about his.
Oh, right.
The myths and boogeyman kind of little kid stories, and that episode was kind of based on what you were saying, and it's and I think one of the important aspects of understanding that show was it kind of set the pattern for all these X-Files episodes, and I just it just seems like what you're talking about can be found as the premise of other TV shows.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they were right on the money with that one. But it's just like a busy highway in a multiverse. So you're dealing with, even though we don't see it with our multidimensional sight from day to day, because most people aren't switched on with their psychic vision, we are bombarded with energetics. We are bombarded with dimensional frequencies, which equate to a vibrational spin. I mean, each band of energy that surrounds us and then that penetrates, which is called a dimension, is actually a different reality. So you'll be able to slip through different, what we call timelines and the illusion of time, to access these quote unquote realities. Now, there are those realities, and then there are other things that are like manifested by the collective, which is a dangerous thing. And when I talk about the holographic grid, you have a collective of people manifesting something. They're being pulled into that psychically, and they're going to energize it and manifest it. It may not be real, but it will be real in the holographic field. And that's how you need to know how to navigate around these things. And also, when you see stuff like that, dissipate it with your mind, and dissipate it through color, and dissipate it through divine consciousness, and don't allow it to pull in and polarize you, because that's what they want. They want to pull you down and feed off of your lower astral body.
So that was the point of that monster?
Well, I mean, anytime there's a monster created, it's usually a destructive purpose. You can talk to a lot of different people who like to focus on lower astral energies, and a lot of people who are like off balance, like just plain psychotic without being programmed, will manifest things that are very destructive in their lives. And you see a lot of poltergeists and things like this, and it's literally the energetic of the person in the room that's created the poltergeist. It's not even like it's being haunted. It's the person's personality that's dysfunctional and split that's creating these false realities. And these false realities act like poltergeists, bad ghosts sometimes. I'm not saying things aren't haunted. Some places are. And then there are other times where you have that. So take a good look and profile the person that's talking about a lot of that stuff, because usually they're the ones creating it, especially poltergeists.
Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can find that in the House of the Seven Gables too.
Right. Well, you know what's interesting is I was mentioning it just the other day. We were talking on the roundtable, and I was mentioning mass possession, because that's what it looks like to me, that people are getting possessed. And the only way you can get possessed on a massive scale is either if they're hitting this with an array system, if they're hitting the masses with an array system. But a lot of people have not done the spiritual work. Whatever race, whatever religion they are, they have not done the spiritual work to a point where they're raising their energy at the highest level of their own divine essence. And that's what's corrupting them, because they don't know better. They're getting pulled into the lower astral orbit, and they're getting sucked down. And that's what I'm seeing, this craziness. You see it every day. You see how people are acting psychotic. And there's only one reason for that, because they're not being centered. Let me know if I'm lecturing too much.
No, I'm just trying to process
I'm thinking.
So what's the best way of centering oneself?
Well, centering is through meditation. A lot of the time it can be through meditation. There are different ways to do it. Some people don't like to meditate. Going for a walk in nature, breathing in light through the center of what we start with the heart chakra, and then we unify our chakras and create a nice unified field of light. You can do that through breath, which is really big. But disciplining yourself into getting into that sacred space, whether it's just a few minutes a day in the morning and at night, to a point where you actually can reset your body. What you want to do is reset before you leave the house in the morning through a form of meditation. And at night, when you wind down, before you go to bed, you want to make sure you breathe in and actually allow yourself to just kind of reset your battery, recenter, and then allow yourself to rest well when you're sleeping. So those are things you can do that will help you.
I believe that's where prayer come around.
Absolutely.
I
prayer,
think that
prayer
was
affirmations,
the
yes.
purpose to begin with.
Oh, yeah. And if you look at a lot of the old prayers, I mean, the Catholic Church stole a lot of those prayers. The Our Father, that's not even from the Catholic Church. I mean, you look at these prayers that they had, and we've talked about the Christ and the Jesus, the Master, whatever you want to call him. The band of frequency associated, the cosmic Christ, is very real. That's not New Age. That's ancient mystery school, and I know people hate it when I say that, but that's the bottom line. You're talking mystery school consciousness with the Christ, the transfiguration of the Christ, and everything else is symbolism and metaphor, especially when it comes to the Catholic Church, the body of Christ, the blood of Christ. We do similar things in the pagan rituals, in the craft, because we have cakes and wine. There are things you do that equate to transfiguration at the cellular atomic level. It's the frequency we're talking about. It's the vibration of the Christ. It's the vibration of the blood of Christ that we're talking about, that changes the world and brings light to this world. And I'll tell you what, I'm probably more Christed than half of the Christian people here on the planet, because of where I've been on the path of mystery school teachings. Let's put it that way. So a lot of people don't even know that.
Well, you just informed a lot of people.
Well, good. As I spit it out, yes.
Yeah, could be seen as a interesting paradox. But do you find that the New Testament is compatible with Wicca or Wiccanism?
No, they're different. They're completely different. What we're doing is we never delegate our power to a middleman, and the church became the middleman. That's the problem I've always had with the church. Is any church, any religious organization, what they did was they tried to take one's power of enlightenment, self-empowerment, multidimensional mastery. We don't need a middleman. We never did. Christ was teaching us that. It's about self-empowerment, higher consciousness, oversoul, superconscious, and your connection to source, your unique connection to source, your cellular atomic frequency that resonates at the very highest level of your divine essence. I mean, literally, he was talking about a different language altogether, and yet people use a middleman like a church. In other words, oh, you have to go to them to get to here. That's totally wrong. That's not correct at all. You literally are self-empowered. You were created with all the tools and skills and cellular memory to access and ascend to higher consciousness. You don't need any church.
That's
at
exactly
all.
what Christ was about. Buddha was the same way.
Absolutely.
It's that kind of consciousness that we're all supposed to strive towards.
Right, and it's always about, when they pull you away through these churches, it's about control and manipulation of your soul and your spirit. They want control over you. It's not about Jesus. It's about them controlling and manipulating you and pulling you away from your divinity so that they can sit there and feed off of your life force. And these churches have done it for a very long time in the name of quote-unquote God with a little g. And they've made a lot of money. Look how much money all of them have made. They're very corrupted right now. So corrupted, it's almost disgusting to watch. And yet they'll point their swords at the witches. And the witches are like, we're the ancient ones. We're the celestials. We don't bother anybody. We're like the watchers. We just sit here and observe everything. I mean, when you're working on the path that I'm working on a very high level of consciousness. I don't nosedive into lower astral battlefields, but I did get pulled into a covert assault program because of my frequency. So, I mean, that does happen. And there's a lot of mind control out there as well, so you have to be very clear. But what I like about the craft is that it's not about judgment. We're just there to empower, raise energy. We work with the male and the female, the high priest and the high priestess. There's no I'm better than you. The male is no better than the female. It's equal, which I like, because souls are androgynous. And I said this before, your suit is your suit. It's what you occupy while you're here, but your soul is an androgynous thing. It's had multiple lifetimes of male or female on and off this planet. People may hate that, but that's really the truth of it,
We give God the name God, and we call him a him all the time, and in reality it couldn't be a him or a her.
No, I mean, that's the whole concept behind it, which I always call it the source energy, prime source direct, the full light universe. Whatever you want to define it as, it's an intelligent energy, it's multifaceted, and it can take on any form it wants. So, and they don't get that part. They want it to be a male, once again, a male-dominated society. And they're treating women like crap lately, by the way, which is another reason I like the craft, because the high priestess is the one who usually runs the show. So.
So you run the show in your area?
Well, I basically, when I'm doing my ritual, I'm the high priestess. But we kind of delegate to each other. So what would happen is we'll decide who wants to do ritual, and we'll delegate it to whoever decides they want to do a ritual for that particular full moon or new moon energy. And a lot of the times I run the ritual, other times I don't. Other times I'll delegate it to somebody else. So we just take turns. And, it's hard to get everybody together. And that's the biggest problem I think anybody has, is trying to get everybody together at the same time, the illusion of time during these things. What you can do is work on it as a solitaire too, which is really interesting, because I find that the solitaire work is more pure, because when you're working in covens, you have to make sure everybody's synced up on a very high level. Otherwise, it can get kind of distorted. And that's what I think happens with a lot of congregations of people, whether it's craft or something else. You have to have everybody synced up to a very high level of spirituality in order for things to really manifest accordingly. And I think sometimes they can go in a not so good direction.
So there's the Wiccan or the covens are more egalitarian.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Oh, there's, you were talking about delegating certain duties to other people. Mm-hmm. There's not just like one minister.
No, you have a high priest. No, a lot of people in covens, you have sometimes you have more than one high priest and high priestess. It literally it's levels of initiation, and depending on the size of the group and what level they're at, some people are there as very new, and other people are there as older or elders rather. And so it just depends. But whoever really wants to do a ritual is welcome to do a ritual. There really isn't any control. What the high priest and high priestess do is they're the teachers. They're the ones who have a protocol. They're the ones who make sure the protocol is followed. They're the ones who have the ritual format. And usually with each coven is very different because each coven has a different kind of formula they use for their circle work. It's not all the same. It's not all generic. And that's why when you go and buy a book at the store on Wicca, it's not going to be like every coven out there because everybody is unique and individual. And if you follow a book of shadows or a grimoire, which is usually hereditary or it's part of a coven or it's someone else's magical workings, that's only shared with the coven and not with any other coven. So you're working on something that's unique onto the group itself. And that's very important. They're not all the same.
Okay. So there's a level of maintaining an group identity.
Well, to some degree, there's just a different way of doing things. There is, we do the traditional work insofar as circle work, casting, that sort of thing, calling the quarters. There's kind of a similar thread in the fabric, but at the same time, there's a different formula that's used, and the way we bring things in the terminology we use is different. Each coven usually has a different form, and we don't share that with anybody. I mean, that's kind of like, for people who are involved in the coven. That's how we know our own on a lot of levels too. So it's kind of like the Masons in a weird way.
With no secret handshake.
No secret handshake.
Well, I find this interesting. Now, during Samhain, it's good luck to burn a black candle, right?
Yeah, black candles can be used for banishing. And they're actually very good as a neutral color too, but I use them for banishing. But we also associate them with the dead and the people who have transferred out, those who are in the underworld. So you can use the black candles anytime you want. I mean, I love black candles because they do banish and purify the atmosphere, even though some people are kind of spooked by the black. I don't know why. I think it's all superstition, honestly. It's the way people have been raised. But I do know you do have to have a balance. You can't just constantly work with one color. It's good to balance it out and use other colors in your circle work. I mean, I like to change it around. I don't like to use black all the time. But there's certain ceremonies that we do where we like the black candles, and they work very well.
I know in some cultures, burning a bayberry candle on New Year's is supposed to be good luck.
Yeah, when you look at it, everybody's superstitious.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
I mean, what was it? The beans they used to eat on New Year's Day? I forget now. Is it?
Well, you get the pork and sauerkraut on New Year's too.
Yeah, they do all sorts of superstitious things.
Gefilte fish for the Jewish people.
I mean, when it boils down to it, is people know the reason people are superstitious is because they know it works. Because they know if somebody's mind and consciousness is powerful enough, things can happen, things can change. And I think that's really what it boils down to is people understand it. Like in the old days where they had the evil eye, and you still have those around. We have the little eyes that can deflect the someone trying to give you the evil eye, things like that. So old superstitions, talismans are used and they're charged. And I mean, whether they believe it or not, I mean, it's kind of like it reinforces what they believe and it makes them feel better. So it's actually amplifying their own emotional and mental body.
That's a word I ain't heard in a long time is
what?
Talisman.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize what they are and, how they can be used.
Well, I mean, they still use them today. Everybody has a talisman. Even a cross is a talisman.
They wear a cross around their neck or something like that, or they wear a wedding ring. Them are talismans. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anytime. It's all based on belief systems, Once again, it's all based on belief. Some of it's superstition. But I will tell you, there are vicious people out there. I mean, even when they're not trying to be mean, sometimes they can be negative and they can send bad energy. And it's not like we have to sit there and take the hit all the time for that. That's the bottom line. Self-empowerment, that's what we teach, so that we're not victimized by energetics all the time.
Since this holiday is focuses a lot on
the dead,
the ancestors. Have you spent a lot of time looking at the artwork in a cemetery?
I haven't recently. We've done.
Oh, you have in. just growing up or running
I never
around
lived
learning
by
to
a
drive?
cemetery. I never lived by one, not when I was growing up anyway. But I do like old historical cemeteries, and I've always liked the energetics associated. And of course, when you're dealing with those old, if you ever notice, they have the iron gates around those usually, and that used to in the old. This is once again folklore, but that would literally keep the spirits from crossing out of the cemetery, keep them confined. So the iron is actually something that keeps spirits from crossing over into someone else's domain. That's something like, people used to use iron and keep it around their house as well to keep out the bad spirits. And that was the folklore behind it and superstition behind it. So you'll see that, and also trees that are planted around loved ones, which actually root in the being so that they're more anchored in their graves and that they don't wander. I don't know how much you know about folklore, but in the old days, they used to paint the doors. They would paint the your door or the door of the person who transferred out so that they wouldn't want them to come back to their house. They want them to make sure that they move on, so that they change the color of the house or the door mainly, so that they wouldn't find their way home. And some people don't like to be followed, which you can do that with your own door apparently. So, but that's the folklore behind it, because a lot of people felt like spirits were actually following them from the graveyards. Just kind of
been to quite trivia. A few graveyards. I might be in trouble.
Well, you know what? I've never had any bad hitchers myself, honestly. So I don't know
I've just enjoyed. I grew up next to a graveyard, and I always just enjoyed seeing the artwork. Understanding what it meant. Some of them
statues and some of them carvings are just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really beautiful.
Just a lot of the symbolism behind the artwork, like a broken column, usually means that the person died at a young age. And you get some of the maybe early 19th century graves with the willow trees or the hand coming out of a cloud, and there's some really interesting artwork. It never really scared me. I just thought it was some nice gestures, optimistic, meaning.
And respect, yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry you died at an earlier age, but we still are thinking of you. So I just wondered if you've looked into that very much.
I haven't, but I've been to some ancient sites upstate New York. I've been to a few areas where battles were fought in Saratoga Battlefield and this and that, and I've felt the spirits come and talk to me, not talk to me, but literally get close and up front and personal. So, and that was when I was very young. But there was definitely there's an imprint signature, whether it was traumatic or whether it's peaceful. But I do think it's really important. Now, this is one thing that I'm seeing today in our world, is there's a lack of respect for the dying and the dead. It's almost as if they don't respect how to bury them with grace.
That's our break, and I believe it's lack of compassion. We'll be right back, folks. I do want to thank everybody who has donated to the station. We have met our goal this month already, but we have since we have met our goal early this month, we've got another special project we're working on. We'd like to get the station secretary a new computer, and if you'd like to lend a hand, we'd sure appreciate it. And just put down there that it's for Kat, and we'll see that she gets it. She does a lot at the station, and her computer is she can't even be in the chat room and do anything else other than be in the chat room when she's in there. She can't be on the air and be in the chat room. Her computer won't handle it no more.
Yeah, Kat's indispensable to.
Oh, good God!
The network.
She is second in command around here, and without her, things come to a screeching halt real quick. If
there's any left over after
Oh yeah, we got this island fund.
Yeah, I was going to say
that's right.
When we moved to Scotland. Yeah, did you read Terry's all of Terry's posts in our Skype box last night? And it's the island is located near the Somerset Isles of it's called the Summer Isles of Scotland, and they said that was where The Wicker Man was filmed.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was what they said.
Well, yeah, it's beautiful there. It's gorgeous.
I got some wicker chairs, but
it's very nice.
I've never seen that movie.
It's one of the best. A superb example of great screenwriting.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the movie is about until about the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's just it's a very well crafted movie. You keep guessing what is going to happen. It's a fantastic movie. You get the original one with Christopher Lee in it. If Christopher Lee's in it,
somebody's gonna die.
Yeah.
Oh, classic Christopher Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see it's I guess it's a monster movie, is what you're talking about, right?
No, not really.
Well, you said Christopher Lee, so I assumed it was. That's the thing that has given witches a bad rap.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the movies of the day, at least the older movies, yeah, it's always painting them with a different kind of a persona for sure. I think they're trying to lighten them up a little bit, but still, yeah, people are very impressionable. And when you have movies like that out there, people get weird. I mean, they just assume that they can watch a movie about something like that and think that that's how it works, and that's not how it works. And they'll be laughed out of a coven if they think that works like that. That's the bottom line. So.
Well, I know back in the this is going to sound really strange. You were talking about Aleister Crowley earlier, Mark. Back in the 60s and the 70s, a lot of Satanist groups kicked up. And the one thing that was really that made them grow was it was about sex, not about the actual rituals of bringing up evil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just a sex cult, if you ask me.
Right.
Yeah, in the name of whatever, they pick a deity and they say, okay, it's Satan, but the bottom line is, will the real Satan please stand up? Because it's all about manifestation. I mean, you can worship the Pillsbury Doughboy and get the same effect. I kid you not. I mean, literally. But you have to go with the highest level of consciousness, and that's where that's working in the lower astral realm. That's just the lower sexual centers. It's not even Tantra transcended. I mean, it's literally just lower astral stuff, if you ask me. So, I mean, there's not much there. There's like you can harness lower astral entities and this and that, and you can do psychic attacks, but I don't see it as very powerful personally, not at all.
No, I don't see them getting anything done. No,
it's just kind of a
that is the basis of their,
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Religious beliefs or whatever.
Yeah, and none of that goes on in any type of coven I've been involved with. By the way, we don't do any of that weirdness. So. There are no children. They're always adults. There's none of that weird sexual stuff or anything else that's going on. So literally, there's a protocol, and when you get to a certain level, like I said, there's a certain way to do things, and that's why there's these groups out there that make us and beings like us look bad. So, unfortunately,
Somebody just sent me the link to that movie, so it must be a pretty good movie.
How funny!
It is. After you get back from work tomorrow, watch it. It's worth the 90-minute investment of your time. But Solaris, have you? Oh, we have a caller.
I see a pyramid. I know who that is.
I knew you'd know.
The mystery man. It's my partner in crime.
It's JP. How you doing tonight, JP?
Indeed, J of the P's. Hello. Hello, Solaris. And hello, Mark. And hello, Tom. Yeah, good to speak to you again, Tom. I've been on Open Canvas for a while. The Wicker Man.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Does that look familiar?
Yes, it does.
Interesting. All right, we'll talk later. So, the Wicker. I just want to butt in with the Wicker Man. Excellent film, made by it's like the Hammer horror team, but it's like much more of a real film. And the idea is that there's it's got Britt Eklund in it, and she's famous for doing this kind of naked dance. Of trying to entice Woodward, who's this kind of really strong-ass Christian.
I've heard this dance.
Yeah, and there's this very kind of music, and she's singing to him, and like he's staying in. All right, okay. So the scenario is he's a policeman. He's been brought in to investigate some murder or some report of a murder, and so he's brought in, and so he's curious.
Yeah, the little girl disappeared.
Yes, a little girl disappears, and so he goes to this island. The ferryman drops him off, and like everybody's looking at him in this everybody's in tweed, because it's Scotland and it's freezing and it's raining and it's miserable, and he's on this island, and everybody's in on it. Everybody, and he's completely.
Well, that island is for sale.
Oh, by the way, I don't think it's actually now the Summer Isles. Is just they're just on the south of the way to Ullapool, which is it's about level horizontally with where I am, but where the earthquake was is kind of further down towards. It's actually near the Mull of Kintyre, so if Fall is sitting there when the volcano goes off, we'll have been the two jobs for one. Anyway, meanwhile, the dormant volcano. Actually, there's quite a few dormant volcanoes if you look, and there is one on what we call the Black Isle, which is like that's on the other side of the Murray Firth from where I am, which is about, I suppose, across the waters. It's about 20 miles, but we can see this little pyramidal peak in the Black Isle, and that's a dormant volcano as well. So we're all screwed.
I was going to say, don't you want us as your neighbor?
Yeah.
We're heading on over.
So anyway, back to the Summer Isles. So the Summer Isles are a very beautiful place, and they're called the Summer Isles because this winter is so shit. I can say shit. I didn't say the ter. And so the weather's so bad there. That you can only really settle in the summer, and that's why they call the Summer Isles. So,
that's what I was telling them when they were talking about it yesterday. I said, first I got to see pictures of it in the winter.
Actually, you can't see it in the winter. the horizontal rain and hail traveling in the opposite direction will prevent you from seeing anything. It's near a place called, I love these names, Achiltibui. Which has one of the first Scottish hydroponica, where they grow hydroponic bananas in the middle of northern Scotland, and sort of not in the middle, in the rather rain lashed west coast of Scotland, and they're growing bananas.
Bananas are expensive there, ain't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't grow a banana in this weather, but in their hydroponic, they set up hydroponic systems because it was a hotel that couldn't get vegetables, so they decided to grow their own hydroponically, and they became the Scottish hydroponic experts. Meanwhile, back at the Wicker Man, because we're on the so the Wicker Man, Edward Woodward, he plays this really straight up policeman. He's a God-fearing man, he believes in Jesus Christ, and he's
in the king's service too.
Yeah, that's right. He's totally, straight down the line. And of course they devour him, but I won't spoil it for everybody, but the film is a
now that dance that girl done.
Oh yeah.
Didn't she have a body double do it?
It was the body double, and she was very upset about it because she says my ass isn't that big. She'd have done the dance then, dear. Yeah. So there you go. So that's how Britain lost out on both counts. But anyway, so she the story is of this guy who is, he investigates something and discovers something else the hard way.
And it was written by Anthony Schaefer, and I think it was Anthony who also wrote the screenplay for Frenzy. Hitchcock's Frenzy, and so he has quite a few, prominent movies that had a big impact on pop culture over the last 40 some years.
I'm gonna have to sit down and watch it now. Y'all got me convinced. Mm-hmm. Well, JP, what do they do? Do they celebrate Samhain over there in where you're at in the UK? And
virgins are hard to find these days, So we have fruit and stuff. No, I mean for instance, about now is what we call the Tatty Festival, which is tatties are potatoes, patati, this is the time of year when the potato harvest is done. And normally, you need a lot of people to do the potato harvest. So everybody in the village comes along and everybody goes to the field, picks up the potatoes, stack them in the boxes and has a big party afterwards because it's hard work. And so that's that. The harvest.
There's a little bit of a potato harvest problem in the Wicker Man too.
Well, exactly, and it's there's perhaps there's a certain sense of sniffing back at the powers that be for poisoning the potatoes of the Irish.
Yeah. Do you have potatoes? Do you grow them, JP?
Tonight, I went out to my garden and when my chickens were waiting eagerly because they love it when I dig my potatoes, and I got a little tub and filled it with potatoes that I'd grown myself, washed them, stuck them on the stove, burning wood, steamed them, and I've been eating them with mayonnaise. They are just nourishing.
Oh, I love potatoes, big time.
So I'm completely grounded.
A lot of potassium. It's good.
That's right. Yeah. So
JP
I've been
has a show here on the station too.
Yeah, it was a couple of hours ago.
Andy runs Wolf Spirit Radio.
Yeah, and on Thursday, my dear darling Solaris and I will be getting strange on Strange Universe while the boss is away.
That's right. We're filling in for the Sean.
Oh, I might actually listen that day.
Sean.
We're gonna burn the house down.
I'm only joking. I listen to Sean all the time.
Yeah,
I'll bring the Molotovs.
Well, you'll be there to offset any weirdness. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be full of potatoes and
yummy.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been living, and actually, every time I tried other food, it's made me a bit ill and sick. But I've been living on these potatoes that have been growing in the garden, and the eggs that my chickens have been laying, who have also been eating food that is growing in the garden as well. So I'm feeling
by the hawk himself.
Yeah. Hey, Hawk. So yeah, growing your own food is great stuff, and you can grow Hawk's food. And I'm just nibbling some cherry tomatoes from Hawk's plants.
Sounds good. Now you're making us hungry. At least me.
JP, how about what's the efficiency of having a salmon farm on our island?
Salmon farm.
Yeah, I mean, for that $2 million, you get all the little you get the salmon farms.
Really? I don't like the idea of salmon farms. I like the idea of salmon that swim up the rivers and things. and get ugly. You ever seen a male salmon? Once you start, I don't know why, but they get uglier and uglier as the further up they go.
That's because they're running into rocks all the way up. They're running into rocks all the way up the river.
That's right. Have you heard Eddy Izzard's salmon sketch? Do you know Eddy Izzard? Anyone heard of Eddy?
No,
Great.
I've never heard.
Check out Eddy Izzard, the salmon sketch on YouTube. Very funny.
I heard something from Nighthawk that time.
He's an English comedian. So Eddy Izzard and the salmon sketch. Anyway, you were talking about The Wicker Man and its relevance now. The best part about The Wicker Man is right at the end. And it was they set up the cameras and something magical happens.
Go ahead and read us the last 3 pages.
No, don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it at all. But the these perfectly timed photographs.com. It was a perfectly timed piece of footage. And it's for that reason alone, just to sit there for 90 minutes to watch this part is worth it, isn't it, Mark?
I do agree with you. I just highly recommend the movie for just the writing alone.
Interesting. Are you there now, Hawk?
I hear noise.
Yeah, I heard some noise. I thought he
practicing the drum kit.
I've been here all along.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, Hawk.
Step in here and join us.
I already did.
Have you seen The Wicker Man? They're talking highly of it.
Hey, Wicker Man. Who was the main actor in that?
What'd you say? Edward Edwards?
Oh.
Edward Woodward.
There we go. Okay, I'm sorry.
Edward Woodward. Just try. You say my name, right? Edward Woodward.
I've probably seen
it. Edward Woodward, Jeremy Perron.
Wicker Man. I don't know what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Anyways, that island's for sale for a little more than $1.5 million, I think.
Okay. I don't know. My bucket list is to live my last few years on Atlantis. Oh wait.
There you go.
My last few years in the Azores.
What side of the mountain?
I think the Azores is Atlantis. I've been there. There's very few people that have been there, but I mean, really, if you really look at everything about the Azores, it really appears to be Atlantis. But anyway, I didn't call to talk about Atlantis. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, mister?
I don't know. It's a long day. Well, I got to go do a funeral tomorrow that I really don't want to do.
Well, we'll be there in spirit. Send you good vibes.
Yep. But anyway, we were kind of talking about, I'm off mark and an hour late, but we're kind of talking about a little bit. And, or were we? I don't know. But anyway, we're back to the helicopters buzzing my house again, heading for freaking Fort Knox today. It wasn't the 50 or 60 like it was last week at a time, but today again, there were 4 of the Black Hawk evac, medical evac helicopters, went over with 2 Apaches in accompaniment, heading over. So I think they're using Fort Knox because I'm in the flight line. My house sits dead on in the flight line. If you're going from Bluegrass Army Depot, which is where everything goes first, and then it heads out from there. And Bluegrass Army Depot is also the largest in the whole world of chemical and biological weapons storage on the planet. Anyway, they go over there and then they head over to Fort Knox. And I've been watching literally an entire air battalion being moved over my head.
Weird.
That's freaky.
Several days.
That's bizarro.
Week and a half.
Huh. That's really strange.
And Hawk, you said earlier today, I said in chat, or when we were chatting, that here, this Air Force base here is a training base.
Yeah.
For the last month, it's been almost non-existent flights.
Right.
And it's weird.
They're all overseas.
And you're used to looking at all this.
I'm used to seeing 10 or 12 fighter jets and a couple of helicopters a day. And see nothing.
Right. And, generally I see 2 or 3 helicopters a year. I had that one strange instance a few months, about a year and a half ago, where I seen all the Sikorskis, the big double chopper sky cranes, moving these gigantic freaking tubes. That's been about 2 years ago. But, for the last about week and a half, it's just been nonstop. Now, today it was 4 medical evac choppers, which are kind of a reworked Black Hawk, and 2 Apaches coming over my head. Really vibrate the house kind of heights. But, last week there was over 300 by the end of the count, starting from Wednesday until late afternoon Saturday, when the weather came in, that kind of stopped that movement. And that is a lot of freaking air movement coming in. So what I imagine, they're coming, whoever, they're going to Bluegrass Field, they get a refuel, and then they go over to Fort Knox, and then they get sent out from there. Now, I went to Fort Knox to do some work last week, and the entire dock is filled with containment suits. To the ceiling, kind of like the last couple of minutes of the first Raiders of the Lost Ark in that warehouse. And it's, I don't know, man. I'm getting a little nervous. I'm a germaphobe anyway, so y'all can kind of deal with that, because you'll notice that on our news site, there's a lot, if it comes from me, it usually has to do with this Ebola. But
which can be found on our homepage, by the way, people.
Yes. But in the end, this is dangerous stuff. And I hear a lot of people going, oh, well, you can just not get Ebola by taking vitamin C, or you can just not get Ebola by, eating silver or some kind of stuff. This is dangerous business. I work in the medical field. And it, it's kind of like, I've heard, oh, well, you can just not get this by eating borax soap or stuff like that, which, again, giant annoyance. So, move forward and be safe, people.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's a drill, or do you think it's preparation for like martial law or something?
Well, if it was 10 helicopters, I'd say drill. I'd say weekend warriors doing their thing, the National Guard. But the numbers have been huge. Mm-hmm. I got PTSD from all this kind of stuff in the military anyway. But when, there was a few hours on Thursday that there were so many helicopters going off in my house, going over my house. I wanted to hide in the basement, with 50 cans of Vienna sausage and never come out again.
And it's an awful sound. It's a really
I don't blame you.
Dreadful sound. You've no idea unless you have that. I used to live near an airbase, as I was saying, and it just shakes every part of your being. It's traumatic. Sonic trauma.
That's what I'm used to on a daily basis here, because they fly training missions constantly with the Black Ops and I can't remember the type plane. It's the one with the 2 oval like props on it, or jets on the back of it.
Oh, F-14, or that'd be a Hornet.
I know they go after tanks and stuff like that is what they go after.
Oh, A-12.
Yeah, that's it, A-12s. And these guys are 500 to 1,000 feet off the ground, come screaming by your ass.
Yeah.
And this happens daily usually, and nothing's happened in 2 weeks here.
Jets don't bother me whatsoever. Helicopters make me they mess me up. It's like still, you got to go back to PTSD kind of situation, but still that's not the point. There's just been way too much air power movement over the top of my house because it's literally, if you get on the map and you look at the Bluegrass Army depot, which is in Richmond, and Fort Knox, and draw a straight line, you literally come straight over the top of your house. Yeah. And what they're doing from here to there, I don't know. But when I was over at Fort Knox the other day, the damn field was full. And there's usually four.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. The ones from here might be there.
Yeah,
Wow.
And the air base,
they're not being flown around here like normal. Now, I haven't been out there to see what's out on the base itself,
Which base are you near?
Moody Air Force Base. It's a training base.
Okay, Air Force Base. Well, I'm Army. What we're dealing with here is Army. Air Force.
Why would they be so quiet? They ain't never quiet, year round.
Yeah, I understand. Army and Air Force is the same. Navy and Marines are the same. But I see what you're saying. But I don't know where everybody's doing or what everybody's going. But I've seen so many military Black Hawk air evac medical choppers. They just, I posted an article on our news site about it. It was just nonstop for like 4 days, just nonstop. When usually what I hear when it's a helicopter around here, they whip around me every once in a while. And then in the fall, when they're looking for weed, I got, National Guard working with the local police, looking for weed. But, it's here and there, here and there, here and there. It's not 60, 70, 80 freaking aircraft.
Right.
So they're doing, something's going on something's going on. And I go out and I get the binoculars and I look up and everybody goes, why didn't you get pictures? You know what? I am so technologically disabled when it comes to that stuff. I have a camera that's always, the battery's always freaking out. So every time I get a fire up, but I go out and look at the binoculars.
I carry one of them cell phones and don't know how to turn the camera on and take a picture with it.
There were so many of the medical evac or the Black Hawks with the Red Cross on the white. There was like, what the hell is this all about? So you got to wonder what the hell is going on. What are they preparing for? What are they doing? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you, or, we can make giant suppositions of what the hell's going on, but, you're looking at, this morning, I think it was Connecticut suspended their constitution literally over Ebola.
That's for real? That was legitimate?
Yeah, it was legitimate. I have a JPEG.
I saw that. Okay, I saw that file.
Yeah, I put the JPEG.
I didn't hear that.
Well, I didn't take it seriously.
No, I put the JPEG up of the actual document.
Mm-hmm.
Hawk, we may not have this problem if we could buy our own island.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is where we came in. You're talking about you buy your own island and sell the salmon and everything like that, and nobody will bother us with Ebola. Right. This is a proposal, is it? And you all and I see that. All right. So, but the thing is, we might need to continue some of those ancient practices. So, who's volunteering?
I'd be interested in.
You can buy an entire property with a winery and a really nice 1800s Spanish deco house in the Azores for less than $50,000.
Oh, this has got how many houses on it, Mark?
I think there were 9.
But I think a pound of hamburger costs $80 there or something. I don't.
We have our own salmon supply, and we can do JP's hydroponic stuff. It's a self
chickens, definitely eggs.
Yeah, it's a self-contained island. We could eat seaweed.
Actually, the best thing is to stick that in the ground You put the seaweed in the ground, and you get a nice big
Clapton
vegetable.
in the chat room said he's seen a bunch of bulldozers on a train that were green and tan, all camoed out in Reading, Pennsylvania.
That's not good. This sounds like martial law to me.
I have absolutely no interest in eating seaweed.
Hey, JP, does if Americans buy the island, would we be considered British subjects? Like, or are we allowed to break away and form our own constitution or have our own monarchy?
I think really, a long story. What'd you say? What were you going to say, Hawk?
Wait. Are we trying to buy Ireland? I think somebody already owns it.
An island.
They want to buy me an island so that I can transmit Revolution Radio from our own independent fiefdom. That is,
that's what we need. See, like, can Willow translate this stuff into? Like be our interpreter and do that kind of stuff. No international laws.
Well, I guess there's islands in the North Sea that nobody wants. We can always do that.
I used to
get closer to the Wicker Man setting. I want to live there.
Says, island fund, you know what it's for now. Hawk. That's what we told him last night.
It's my island.
That's right. It's Lady Horse's island.
I told you, it's my island. I would win.
We might be living on an island if this stuff keeps happening here in the U.S.
See, Ebola can't cross water, so just everyone camps out. You don't have any contact with the mainland.
The 1918 flu crossed everything.
Yeah, I hear that.
Once it's airborne, man, it's over, and it's airborne. I don't care what the media is telling you. We're looking at airborne effects.
Well, you knew that from the first case because right after the first case, because when the workers who were protected to their best ability, knowing that they possibly could be contaminated and still got contaminated.
I've been squalling this stuff since freaking April. And people, and I still get, and I still to this day get emails. Can we just stop talking about Ebola? Even just in time, which, I love him like a brother, but still. Can we just, it's like, not talking about something that is bad doesn't make it go away. It's like.
Well, you have a suit, right, Hawk? So you're all ready to go.
Oh yeah, I'm good, but this is suck ass business. And I'm a germaphobe, so it makes me extra irritated.
How do you think we feel? We don't have half the gear you have.
You can get that stuff pretty cheap.
I better get one then. I didn't think I would need one.
Get a fluid mask at least.
A what mask?
Get a box of fluid masks.
Okay.
They're the yellow ones. They hook over your ear.
The paper masks.
Yeah, they hook over your ear.
Hook, you're connected with medical supplies, aren't you?
Let me finish. It's a surgical mask. It hooks over your ear. It's yellow. And it's a fluid barrier mask. Just go Google it and get them. Just don't go into public without one. Especially don't go in, And right now, I got to say, don't eat fast food. Don't go into a theater. Really. We don't know what's going on out there.
I'm not enjoying going to the shop either. They've got people flying in and out all the time coming into that place. It's like, I don't want to be there.
Yeah, with a 21-day incubation period, this thing could, every 21 days, we're going to see another, which is exactly what I said. As we've been working our way through this since April, I kept saying, damn, this is going to get nasty as soon as it gets here. And then it came here when they brought him into freaking Georgia. Now what we're seeing is one or two. Well, you know what? We just saw one or two in Liberia in April. And it's going to keep getting nastier and nastier and nastier. This is airborne. I don't care what the mass media is telling you. This is what I do for a living. This is emails I get every day from the company I work at. They're freaking out. And we got people that are quitting left and right at my company. And they're offering people like, we're up to $130 an hour, 24 hours a day to go sit in a hotel and fix stuff in Texas. Nobody will take the job.
Oh. Man. That's pretty nasty.
See, I even noticed here at the medical supply place yesterday that they're advertising on their sign out front that they have 5 million flu masks on stock.
Wow. What about ordering through the internet then? You're still susceptible, right? Even with delivery through the internet, a package from UPS or whatever.
Well, that'd be if it's bodily fluids then, wouldn't it?
Right, well, I don't know.
And listen, anything that you get or is touched by anybody else, you can get a spray bottle, use 25% regular Clorox bleach, rest water, spray it. It's over. You're done. You've killed everything in 15 minutes.
I have plenty of bleach.
Huh?
I have plenty of bleach.
Yeah, there you go. Plenty of bleach. There you go.
I hear ammonia works better, though. Someone was mentioning that the other night. I forget who it was. No?
No, bleach is best.
Okay.
Ammonia is a good fallback. But
these are happy thoughts, Peter Pan. It's weird, isn't it? I'm beginning to wonder what January is going to bring, huh?
Well, now, see, didn't the CDC say that by January 2015 there can be up to 1.5 million cases?
Yeah, they're already. They're talking about 1.2 million cases worldwide by January, 2.7 million cases by 1st of February, 5 million cases by April worldwide of Ebola with a 70% death rate.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what WHO is telling everybody right now. You're not going to see this on Fox News. You're going to have to go to WHO, World Health Organization, to actually see these figures. It's gotten to the point that mass media is actually kind of downplaying it. They're talking about it, but they're downplaying it a little bit because really we've kind of reached a level in which it has become a panic level. If everybody knew this, they would literally be freaking out. And really, population of sheep freaking out is not a good thing.
No. That's for darn sure.
Hey, Terry, what's up?
Oh, not hell of a lot. What you doing?
She heard us talking about that island.
There you go.
No, I was listening to Solaris earlier, and I was like, all of a sudden my doggone IP personnel or whatever decided to shut me off for a minute. I'm like, what in the world? No. Oh, well.
There were archives to pick up what you missed.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And that must have been the time she was talking about you, too.
That's right. Your ears were burning.
I didn't do it.
Well, it's good everybody hopped on. This is good.
I may have done it, but I won't tell anybody I did it.
Well, I know that we do have this new news site, and like Hawk said, he's been posting a lot up there about Ebola, and it's www.freedomslips.com/news/site/index.
So what are they? Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What are they doing with the bodies? So, say technically somebody dies, are they burying the bodies, incinerating the bodies? What's up with that? Do you know, Hawk? Where'd he go?
Well, somebody told me.
Isn't that what all the black boxes have been for?
Well, I'm wondering if is that for burial or incineration? I would suspect they'd have to incinerate the bodies.
Just go and visit your local airport, and you'll see what they're going to do.
Well, thanks. I've already been there.
Yeah, we're actually talking about it on a show with Katie Galanti the other day. It's got the whole bit. This is their plan, and they've done it all in a nice kind of stained glass cartoon in great ceremony. Yeah, lovely.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. Well, yeah, just be prepared for anything, I guess.
Well, yeah, you need to. This stuff, like just him saying all them helicopters over there, and then me noticing that they're doing nothing at the training base, that they're constantly doing stuff. That seems either they took the planes from here and are using them, or they've taken the people that would normally be trained and using them personnel.
Actually, Matt, I've heard similar reports from other people that are near Air Force bases. Not Marine bases or Navy bases, just Air Force bases. I've heard very similar reports.
Yeah, I live near an Air Force base in northern Scotland, and a couple of weeks ago we had a large number of different kinds of traffic coming in from different vectors. So, like, I'd hear this really heavy rumble coming from the south and these jets coming from the west. It was like there was a big meeting going on, and like there was one. Oh yeah, it was almost like a Spitfire. It was cranked right up. It was a little plane going as fast as it could, and it really zipped across the sky like it was carrying someone very, very important, very, very quickly. And so there was that's what happened a couple of weeks ago, and it's been quite quiet since then, apart from they sprayed us the other day, which is unusual. They don't normally spray us, but they sprayed us. So they're probably getting ready to kill us all.
Well, it sounds like martial law to me, and you know what? Hold on to your butts. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, see, I think they tried the race thing and it didn't work. They tried the gun thing and it didn't work. To cause an uprising. Now they have what they can call a natural disaster that's going to be getting out of control, and it gives them.
Yeah, it's called the freak out thing.
Yeah, and it gives them a reason to declare martial law or fully enforce it. Depends on how you look at it. We're really under martial law, anyways.
I don't know. I put the JPEG of the actual document somewhere, and I can't find it. I put it in the producer chat and the manager chat. If somebody can find it, post it up, and we'll get it up back into the main chat. Kind of go from there.
You ought to stick it up on the news site.
Well, I do that too.
Direct everybody there.
Unfortunately, y'all talk too much, so I can't find it.
Oh, everybody silence.
Yeah.
No, you'll go nuts.
Dead air. No.
Can't have more than 3 seconds dead air now.
Uh-oh. Well, let's hope that we have it tomorrow, okay? And the day after.
It makes you grateful to wake up in the morning, doesn't it?
Telling you, man, we're in for some weirdness. That's why we're looking at that island over there. Your area, Davey.
Yeah, well, that's why I say if you get the island, I'm going to have to blow the bridge on the burn. There's a burn. There's a stream that separates me from the main road. You have to cross about 10 foot of it with your vehicle.
Actually, talking about so I can go invest in this business.
Well, it's one of the summer isles that was featured in the film. You can probably Google it easily. Summer Isle for sale.
Here, I will go find my island again and put it in chat.
Oh, it's beautiful in the summertime, but I told him I'd have to see it in the winter. And then we got to arguing who was going to be king.
Oh, brother.
or queen.
Actually, in the Azores, there's an island, a northern island that is for sale, the whole damned island, for only $1.9 million.
Yeah, this one's 750 acres, and I don't remember how much.
750.
Nearly £2 million, so that's about $3 million.
Yeah, there we go. We can raise that, right?
Yeah, we can do that. Hell yeah.
You can actually, if you're
there, we'll put up our own internet satellite tower, and we'll fire our own satellite into space so we can all get on the internet, right?
Okay.
Yeah, see
There you go.
I heard you can buy everything you need for a satellite at Walmart's. You just have to pay for the payload to lift it.
JP, is a 2x4 called a 2x4 in the British Isles?
Are you talking sawn or planed?
Planed.
Okay, yeah, we call them 2x4s. We also call them 6x2s and other dimensions, 1x1s. Sorry.
Yeah,
number 5s. Everything's got a number in Britain. I'll tell you, everything is down to the detail. Mike?
I just wondered if we needed to get Willow to make sure that we're ordering the right thing. If there's, like the British call, flashlight a torch. I just wondered if we needed her to interpret.
Oh yeah, I'm quite good at understanding and translating. Yeah, I am. I'm able to speak American and Canadian fluently.
Okay.
All right.
That works for me.
I don't know. A 2x4 in the United States is actually 1 1/4 by 3 4/15, I think.
That's a bit skimpy, but that's a plain one, isn't it? If it's just sawn, it'd be a direct 2x4.
I don't know. Under my house, I have my house.
You lose that little 1/16.
Yeah, my house was built in 1856. The 12 by 18s under my house still have bark on them. And they are 12 by 18. They're freaking tree trunks.
Love it.
Guys will have to import trees because the island doesn't look like it has any trees.
You could grow hemp.
Well, there we go. Yeah, we could do that too.
This whole house may be crooked. This whole house may be crooked, but I guarantee you could probably pop a nuke off in Louisville, and I get through it just fine.
Actually, if you look at that, article,
the house is going to survive.
If you see that article, you can see exactly what my house looks like. Those ruins, the empty, the things without the roofs. If you put a roof on, that's what my house looks like. It's exactly that design. It's called a bothy, and there's billions of them all over the Scottish and the Isles around. It's the standard design, and they're all the same size. And they would have them on the moors, and if people got stuck, they could go in them. And they were like free houses that you could just stay in for a while. Nobody lives in Scotland. People stay in your house. Where do you stay? I don't say where do you live, because everything is transient.
See, that's what I was talking about. We need you and Willow to help us understand the difference in language.
Well, Willow lives on the other end of this great island called Britain.
Yeah, definitely.
We live in the head, and she lives in the butt cheek in Kent, the nice juicy fat part of Britain where all. Sorry.
Actually, Willow lives in what I would describe as mostly underwater.
Yeah. Lately, poor girl. She's had her share of it.
For the last 2 years, Willow over there in Surrey goes, "All right, we're all underwater. Water's coming up out of the toilet. The whole water, it's like ridiculous. It's like, all right, let's fund her. There's the next donation funding. Let's get that house out of the water."
Get her a boat. You see, the thing is that Surrey and all those places around there are built in what was known as the Thames Valley. Now, that should have given everybody a clue. The Thames Valley. It's a valley where the river is. And if the river gets bigger, then the valley gets sort of, less land and things like that. And that's what's been happening. People in Somerset, right? The reason it's called Somerset is because in summer they used to settle. And that should give you a clue as what it's like in the winter, as Tom was saying. So we got a basic idea is that it's like people settling in Tornado Alley in your United States. It's like, look, don't do that. That's stupid.
Oh, there's the end of the show. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I appreciate y'all joining us. Solaris, appreciate you telling us about Sarwin tonight, and
sure thing.
telling us about what's going on there with the Ebola front. JP come in there with some good stuff about that movie, and I sure enjoyed it tonight. Thank y'all for joining us.
We'll do it again next Monday.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
It'll be a structured show.